work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Welcome, everyone, to Two Middle-Aged Guys Trying to Work It All Out. I'm Chris, and this time I am here with my good friend
Dave.
That's
so
right.
glad to be back. I closed my eyes for a second. Did not see you pointing at me. I may have fallen asleep very briefly.
Well, that's okay, Dave, but it's good to have you back. And why don't you take a minute and tell the people what happened and give us kind of an update on what's going on.
Well, it's great to be back. And you may remember this. I did a bit, I don't know, 600-700 episodes ago.
Yeah.
It was in the early days. Where I did a bit where I changed my voice. I lowered my voice and did a little Nick Nolte thing. And that was a joke. That was a bit. Now, what you hear now, this is my new voice. This is actually not a bit. This is not me changing my voice. My voice has changed. I had a procedure done. My nephew, who's a doctor, I called it a procedure, and he said, no, it was a major surgery. So I get to call it that. I felt a little weird, a major surgery. But I had some work done on my spine and my neck, and they fused my spine. I've had this done a few times. They went in and just fused everything that wasn't fused. And they go through your throat, and in the process of doing that, they cut some nerves going to my vocal cords. So I have one vocal cord that's basically dead, and there's a question of whether or not it will come back. But for now, this is my new permanent, little bit raspier, lower voice. And that put us out for a while. I mean, for you listeners, this has just been a little bit. And then you had since we've been on, and then you had a fill-in episode from Chris, or a short. But for us, it's been like 8 weeks since we've recorded, because we got well ahead, because it was a long recovery from the surgery. So, but we're back now for real.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I was a little surprised that the insurance would cover the vocal cord thing. I thought that would be considered cosmetic surgery, but you wanted that deeper voice.
I did. I was like, listen, I got to go through. I got to have you work on my spine. I mean, it was a long con to get them to do this to kill a vocal cord. I don't know if it was worth it. No, that was a side effect, and it was a known potential risk. But it was like, probably
what can
won't.
you do?
It was the third time I've had this surgery, and they hadn't cut a vocal cord nerve before, so I was like, wow. But this time my luck had ran out.
Yeah.
So,
we're so glad that you're here. We're so glad that there was nothing more major that happened with the surgery.
Yes.
And it's good to stand in T-Max Studios with you again.
It's great to be back in here. Of course, I live here at T-Max Studios, so I was here a lot in here, getting clothes and doing other things that you do in a studio, naturally.
Of course.
But it's great to be back in here and doing what this room was meant to be for. This room was built to be a podcast studio.
Yes.
With towels and shirts and other things that it looks like a closet, but really that's just a cover.
Right, exactly. It's a write-off for the space, right?
It's a write-off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad to have you back. I'm glad that we could do a show intro that had nothing to do with weather. That was exciting for me.
Well, I hadn't got to that yet, but. So today is, we are T-Mac. We are two middle-aged guys trying to work it all out. But not today. Today, we are two middle-aged guys trying to get caught up.
Yes.
So this is our special catch-up episode where we don't necessarily have a theme.
No.
But we're just going to kind of go and catch up on things. It's been like I said, about 7-8 weeks since we've been in front of the microphones. Some stuff that we left that maybe we talked about earlier in the summer that we want to come back to and revisit, and just, kind of have a shorter episode where we just update you all on some things. And
yeah, because a lot of things have happened in the world.
Yes.
Some crazy things that I never expected, didn't think would come out. One of those that we're going to hit is a new Rolling Stones album. What?
Yes.
So anyway, we'll get to it though. But first, something that's happened big in T-Mag's world.
Oh, huge. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
We've been begging for listener interaction. we're pretty sure we had listeners. The statistics, the downloads, it wasn't just us doing it.
Correct.
So we knew that we had some listeners out there, and we got our first listener email, and I got permission
Yes.
to read it, and very excited to do so. So I'm going to read this. This is from, I got to go back to Crystal. Won't say her last name. Last name redacted. And this is what Crystal had to say. Hey, Dave and Chris. I usually listen when on long trips, and today I got the opportunity to listen to episodes 6 and 7. Do you remember what 6 and 7 are?
6 was albums and 7 was mob movies?
Sure.
Is that right?
That sounds about right.
All right.
I should have looked that up. I try not to refer to them by number.
No, I do the same, and I do have a spreadsheet at home, but that is at home.
Yeah. So she goes on to say, you're maybe going to block me from ever listening again. Not likely. But I wasn't one who bought and listened to albums pretty much ever. That would be the album episode.
Yep.
Except that I did get sucked into Columbia and found a couple interesting favorites. You're not the only one who got on the Columbia House juice.
Indeed.
And could not get off. She goes on to say, so picking my favorite albums, in quote marks, is hard, but I can cheat and pick artists who were the most influential or important in my life. It's question mark, but I can't. Can I cheat? Can I question? I'm not waiting for your permission and will just barrel through. Listening to CCR with my dad was such a special experience. It was my first time paying attention to the music or band's name and connecting it to songs and recognizing that they had a particular voice. CCR, I can see that with him.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
Next is funny enough, Weird Al. His courage is absolutely letting his freak flag fly, and it helped me be and express myself a little more courageously. Maybe not as courageously as he does, but there you go. And he also introduced me to the concept of satire, and that's been a fun part of my life. I love Weird Al.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's one of those things where at a certain point in my life, I will always look back fondly on those Weird Al albums that I loved. You know, the Michael Jackson,
Even Worse.
Even Worse, and then all the earlier stuff, and then the later stuff, the Amish Paradise and those.
Yep.
I don't listen to anything he's done recently. I don't even know if he's done newer albums.
Oh, he has.
Yeah, okay, but it's just for whatever reason I grew past that. But I loved Weird Al.
Yeah,
had many cassette tapes.
I could tell some Weird Al stories, but the only thing I'll mention now, and then you can get back to the letter. UHF is still a brilliant comic movie.
It is. Conan the Librarian is hilarious. She says, third, yes, Melancholy was a huge part for me. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness by the Smashing Pumpkins was one of my choices. My brother introduced me to alternative music as he was my primary driver in high school, and we listened a lot to Green Day, Chumbawamba, etc. You know, the person who drives you does get to pick the music.
That's the rule.
That is true. Crystal,
even if they choose Chumbawamba.
Even if they choose Chumbawamba, yeah. That's gotta be hard listening to that one song over and over again.
It's the only song they ever
did.
did.
It is. I feel all the nostalgic feels with those. Thanks for the episode. As for episode 7, that would be mob movies. I've never watched any of these movies, so thanks for giving me the down low on them and helping me skip past the less savory options. She's talking about Casino and Goodfellas.
Yeah,
those are less savory ones.
Yeah.
Now I need to gain access to the Godfather series. I know a place where they sell them on VHS at Goodwill, where I saw all 3 of them on VHS. And that was it. Crystal, thank you so much for writing to us.
And now that Crystal has written to us, the floodgates are open. I mean, everybody out there can start sending us emails.
Email, Facebook.
Yes, react to episodes. Tell us, hey, give us a topic. If there's something you want to hear us wax philosophically about, we'll do it.
Yeah, I would love to take a topic from a listener. Right?
Absolutely. But thanks, Crystal, for writing in.
Yes.
It means a lot.
It does. It does mean a lot. Thank you for listening. Thank you for writing. And other folks write in as well. We'd love to hear from you.
We would. But you know what time it is now, Dave?
Let's see. I'm looking at my agenda for today, the list.
Well, then it's going to be easy for you to know
what time
it is.
I think I say we make it Rolling Stones time because this is a topic we both really want to talk about.
Okay, listeners, he's going out of order on the agenda. So now all bets are off. I don't know what's happening. Rolling Stones' new album. What do you think of the song? Angry.
First of all, you've listened to it.
I have. I've listened to it many times.
Yeah.
Actually.
So Rolling Stones are releasing a new album, Hackney Diamonds. And They've got a couple of songs out from it. Sweet Sounds of Heaven, which is one of their bluesy songs. It's Lady Gaga does it with them. I am not the biggest Rolling Stones bluesy song fan, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. And the other one they released is Angry, which is a very... before I say it, they also released a music video. Did you see the music video? Okay. So an old school music video, what they put out there, real excellent production value, is really a very good one. Angry is a very generic Rolling Stones song.
Okay.
It is super catchy.
Yeah.
Mick's voice is excellent, but it sounds like it honestly, it just sounds super generic, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it sounds a little bit like Start Me Up. It sounds a little bit like Love Is Strong. Great songs from the past.
Yeah.
This is really like in that same vein, maybe like a spiritual, I'm doing quote marks, sequel to those songs. But it's pretty generic. That said, I've listened to it a dozen times. I like it a lot. I think it's great. I think Mick sounds great. I think the guitar solo from Keith is a little plain and boring, but man, the guy's 80 years old, and I thought it was really good. I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of the album.
Yeah, I'm really interested. And when they announced it, that the Rolling Stones were going to release a new album, I thought to myself, does anybody want that? And at the time that they announced it, I was like, I certainly don't. I'm not interested. And then I hadn't even listened to the song until you messaged me and prompted me, and you were like, before we record again, you have to listen to the new Rolling Stones song. I was absolutely blown away.
It's a good song.
It is a good song. And you mentioned Mick's voice. How can he sound that good with as much mileage as he has on that voice?
Yes.
I mean, he sounds like Mick sounded in 93 when Voodoo Lounge came out. Yeah.
No, he does. I just think that there's an illusion there with Mick Jagger that he wants everybody to think he's this crazy party guy, when he really takes great care of himself and probably lives a much less wild life than you would imagine. And he's just in excellent physical condition.
Well, he'd have to be dancing around on stage at 80, because he's
does
80 on the dot, right?
Yeah, all that stuff with his.
But he sounds so good in an era where a lot of music stars who are in that advanced age and still releasing music, you hear the age in their voice.
Sure.
I mean, Paul Simon's newest album, which I love dearly, but he does not sound like the Paul Simon of 20 years ago, and certainly not the Paul Simon of 40 and 50 years ago. Mick's voice on Angry just sounds so dang good.
It does.
And on the other song, which name escaped my brain.
Sweet Sounds of Heaven.
Sweet Sounds of Heaven. He sounds just as great on that song as well. Now, I was not as big of a fan of that one as I was Angry, but it was still a solid song.
It was a solid song. It was a complete song, right? It was, it sounded like a Stone blues song, which is not my favorite, never has been. But Angry is in the wheelhouse of those songs that I like, right? The Start Me Up, Street Fighting Man, Love Is Strong. You Got Me. I don't know.
Well, You Got Me Rocking. That was a deep cut. I don't think that one hit the radio.
I don't know if it did or not now, but I really enjoyed Angry. I do have a couple things though. I think that they're old, right? And so they're a little tired. I think that I still stand behind it's a fairly generic song. I'm going to wager that that songwriting's hard, so that Mick and Keith sat down at the computer and because I imagine Mick's got a gaming rig, right? He's got the latest video card,
RGB lights and everything.
He's got the wraparound, wide, super ultra widescreen monitor, and he's got his gaming glasses on, and Keith's just trying to stay awake at that point. He's like, we're going to use ChatGPT, and we're going to let it write songs for us. And that's how they got a fairly.
That really makes me want to go to ChatGPT and type "Write me a Rolling Stones song."
I did that.
No!
I went to ChatGPT. I was thinking. I sort of thought of that joke. It's funny. I said, "Wonder what would happen." So here's the prompt I wrote. I said, "ChatGPT." I said that, "Dear ChatGPT." I always start very formal, because when our robot overlords, I want them to know I'm a polite
exactly.
human. I'm not going to cause problems.
No.
I'm not going to be leading any resistance.
You want to be nice to the robot.
Yes, I will be our new robot overlords. I will be your lackey. I said, write a new Rolling Stones song in the style of Street Fighting Man.
Okay.
And what he wrote me was a song called Street Fighting Woman. I am not joking. My prompt was just that simple in style of Street Fighting Man. It wrote Street Fighting Woman. It rhymes. It has sort of kind of a story about the queen of the streets. And I pulled it up. I did this a couple weeks ago, and I pulled it up to. It does. It's sort of it works. I mean, but no, I do have. If you will one more thing. I have a roll. I want to try out a Rolling Stones joke.
Okay.
All right, so I don't. The setup for this isn't great, so I'm gonna, just forgive that. But let's just get to the punchline, and I can workshop the setup. If I was going to give the Rolling Stones a new band name, I would call them the Strolling Bones.
Oh, bum.
Yeah, and that works. If you guys remember a comedy episode, I like to explain jokes. Works on multiple levels. First of all, they're old.
Yeah.
And they're, a connection between old people and their bones.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, I don't know. They also all have skeletons. So that's how it works together. And
Okay.
strolling bones. I don't know if that joke's gonna. I'm not gonna give that much more play.
It's if Norm Macdonald had said it, it would have played. But I'm sorry.
All right, well, I could maybe sell that to another comedian.
Okay, yeah. Anybody that wants to contact Dave to buy his jokes,
just hit us up at the TMAG email, and we'll.
I want your lyrics to Street Fighting Woman, though. I want to post that. Absolutely,
with the show notes. Yeah. Absolutely, I've got them right here. Street Fighting Woman, you don't you know you're the queen of this midnight show? I probably should be careful. I don't want anyone to take this song and make it. I want it to be, from us and ChatGPT.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'll post it before I go too much further.
And then you'll put, written by Dave and ChatGPT.
Yeah. Great. I will credit ChatGPT. ChatGPT, imagine them doing podcasts.
There are AI podcasts out there.
Are there really?
There really are. Yeah.
Goodness.
If you search for them, I mean, they're not anything you'd listen to. It's just people, doing goofy things like the AI Drake songs, like that kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
But they do exist. All right. So I want to stick to the music topic because we talked about the Rolling Stones record. We got something else that we got to catch up on. And that is another big music thing that happened since last time we recorded. And that's U2 at the Las Vegas Dome.
Yes.
Or the Sphere, I guess, actually, is what it's called.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's officially,
Dome.
I think it's officially called the Sphere.
Yeah, okay.
Because a dome's different. A dome is a half sphere.
And this was a full.
It's not. It's not like a 3/4 sphere. Anyway, they are performing. Rave reviews, if you've read them.
I have.
If you've looked at any of the footage on YouTube, looks phenomenal.
Yes.
The use of what is essentially just you're encapsulated in a giant TV screen, and then your imagination can go wild with whatever you're going to do for each song in that kind of an environment. They're using it well, and here's my big question. Why does Paul McCartney get tickets and I couldn't?
Well, Sir Paul?
Sir Paul, yes. I don't understand.
I'm going to guess it has something to do with his time as the leader of the Jets.
Well, they were a good band.
Yeah. This is the band.
It was Wings.
Wings. That's right. Jet was a song.
Yes,
Wings.
that Wings.
Wow, that's confusing. And I totally blew that joke. Yeah, I don't think he did much before.
No.
Wings.
No, Wings. I mean, yeah, that was the big Live and Let Die. Really was when he hit the stratosphere.
It looks incredible. Right? We talked about the Rolling Stones. Sorry, we talked about U2 doing a residency and without their drummer, Larry Mullen, right?
Correct.
Yeah, Larry Mullen. I almost said Adam Clayton for some reason.
Adam Clayton's the bassist.
Adam Clayton's the
Larry
bassist.
Mullen Jr.
Larry Mullen Jr. Right, his dad was not doing the drums.
No.
But we talked about that. Maybe our
several episodes.
First episode, right? Second episode,
something like that.
But I had no idea they were going to be doing it in this super high tech,
and
dome thing.
I think we even covered this that it seemed odd of them to do this without Larry, and it did come out shortly after our episode that it was like a contractual thing. Like they had entered into this years ago, and they did not know that Larry was going to require surgery and be out of the show. So it's still bittersweet that they're doing all this. Larry got to play drums on Atomic City, the new single, so that was good. I hope he didn't re-injure himself by going back to the drum that quickly, but he played on that, and then the show is being performed by I should have looked up his name. I'm sorry, I didn't.
I did. I saw his name, but no one we would know.
No, it's not. And he is a member of a band that is famous that I should probably know, and I don't know that either. I'm sorry. But it was reported that the opening night at the Sphere was also his birthday, which is simultaneously a phenomenal story, but then also, man, every year thereafter, when somebody's like, hey, you want to do something for your birthday? You're like,
Yeah, I can't live up to that.
Yeah, no, I'm not playing drums for you too.
I'm waiting for Bono to call me.
But I'm glad that it's going well. I'm glad that everybody is saying that the show's phenomenal. Even Irish reviewers who are typically pretty hard on U2, because that's what Irish people do with other Irish people. They're saying, any notion that U2 went to Las Vegas to die is false, and that the show is phenomenal and the band's sounding great. So good for them. It breaks my heart that I can't be there to see it. They're doing the entire set list of Octoon Baby,
yep,
which is by far my favorite U2 album. And if there was one that I could be at, it would be Zoo TV. But if there's a second one that I could be at, it would be the Sphere in Las Vegas, because it just sounds tremendous. And I think the only negative to this Sphere and to this venue is just they're really limited in seats, and U2's doing 25 shows, and Ed just said, well, it'd be great for us to come back and do more, but I don't think anything's official yet. But man, tickets were absolutely impossible to get. And on the day it was released, I jumped out there. I was like, let me roll the dice. Let me see what happens. And I was just shut out completely. And I'm pretty sure if you weren't either like some sort of internet bot or, the leader of Wings, I don't think you could get tickets. I just don't understand.
Or leader of Jet, which is something else entirely.
I don't even know who that is.
A Jet Li cover band. They do the Jet Li, so he's huge.
I didn't know that. Jackie Chan has albums. I did not know Jet Li did.
I did not know.
Yes.
Maybe I did know that.
Yeah, he does.
Steven Seagal has albums too. He's a blues man. I think that Dome or Sphere, whatever it is, folks should check that out. Look it up. It'd be helpful if we knew the proper name. But it looks incredible. And my wife and I were talking recently about what's something that could get us to go back to Vegas. We used to visit. We're not gamblers. I mean, we'll like do $3 or $4 in slots just to say, hey, we went to Circus and played a few slot machines, but it's just not something we're very good at. So I don't know anybody who is good at slots, but in general, we know it's a losing proposition. And so we don't do a lot of it. We love to go to Vegas for the shows, for the food. There's incredible food, but it would get us to go back to see anything at that venue, because it looks incredible. And like you said, it's a big sphere. You go inside of it, and then it's on the inside and outside, it's surrounded by TV. So from the outside, it can look like a giant eyeball sitting in the middle of Las Vegas. And when you're in the inside, U2 was doing some stuff like, for Elvis, they were doing it, and they said they're in the Cathedral of Elvis, and there's giant Elvis. You're surrounded, Elvis in surround, right?
Yeah.
Not just the audio, but also the video. Giant Elvis is walking around you. So it looks and sounds incredible. So I would check out that venue.
I would too. And the thing, I mean, like, you can watch videos on YouTube, which are people's cell phones, and they're very narrow, and they don't give you the experience by any stretch of the imagination, but you see it and you're like, oh, okay, I can imagine that would be cool. What you don't get is supposedly it is designed in such a way where the audio is crisp and clear no matter where you're seated in the whole thing.
That's very cool.
And that would be something I'd love to experience. Because even though I've been to a handful of U2 concerts and loved every single one of them, but at a concert, you don't really get audio fidelity. No. You're just kind of you're the experience, and you get to see the band and that kind of thing. So if this could solve that problem as well, man, that might be the premier place for concerts. But then it's, again, demand is going to be so high.
Getting into it.
Yeah.
Maybe a decade from now.
Maybe when there's 3 other spheres and this one is like there are burnt pixels everywhere on the whole thing, then you can get in to see something.
It turns out the Sphere was built by Vizio. It was out of warranty 90 days in, and 10 years from now, the Rolling Stones will probably be releasing another album. We talk about, how does Mick look so?
He's 90, but he sounds like he's 75.
Yeah. All right. Well, that I think that we can agree that the U2 stuff looks. They still have it, and I'm sure I've not actually listened to their new song.
Really? No. You should. To be honest, the first time I listened to it, I was like, eh. But it's a grower, and now I'm really into it, and it's been on constant rotation. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They do still have it, and I'm anxiously awaiting the next U2 album. I'm anxiously awaiting Larry getting back to it. I will acknowledge that I am a U2 fan to the level where I've lost objectivity. And if Bono was like, our next album is us covering 50 show tunes, I'd be like, that's amazing. I cannot wait to hear that album. So maybe I'm not the best judge.
Zippity doo-dah.
But he'd do it with such authority, and man,
he had a little speech before.
Absolutely,
everybody hold up your lighters. We're out in the Milky Way. Here's zippity doo dah. All right, well, that's I would love to go see that, but it's going to be a while before normal people are able to get tickets.
Yes,
that's the reality of it.
Sir Paul can probably get them anytime he wants.
Yeah, I'll just have to call him up. Don't you remember me?
I was a huge fan of Jet.
Oh man, he was. You remember Jet? That's what he sounds like.
Wow, had no idea.
Yeah. All right.
Now it's time for the summer movie wrap-up.
Yes, the summer movie update. So we talked about a lot of movies this summer. Very funny that we had a Christopher Nolan episode where we were like, oh, Oppenheimer, we can't wait to go see it. And then neither of us got to see Oppenheimer in the theaters. Oppenheimer. Not sure how to say it.
It's Op.
Okay. I never got to see. I'll just call it shorthand Op. We didn't get to see it, and in both cases, we had opportunities to go to the movies, and we chose to see Barbie.
Well, there were extenuating circumstances.
And in both cases, it applies to both of us, right?
Yes.
And we didn't go together. What we mean to say is, our families went to the theaters, and I think I could have exerted my will, and saw Op. But I would have felt bad because my wife really wanted to see Barbie, and I also wanted to see it. It was a win-win, right?
Yeah.
And I think you were in a similar situation where everybody.
My oldest daughter was in town visiting, and she wanted to go see Barbie. How could I say no? We're going to go see Oppenheimer.
Yeah, watch this movie about the atomic bomb.
So we saw Barbie. Did not see Chris Nolan's new film, even though I was bound and determined to find it in film IMAX. I didn't even see it at all in any theater.
Nope.
So I'm the worst Christopher Nolan fan ever.
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way. It'll be on streaming, I think, around the Thanksgiving time period.
And I promise I will sit close enough to my TV that I can't even see the edges, because that is as close as I can approximate.
You're going to wear the goggles that
that 120
wore when the first atomic bomb was going off.
Idea.
You'll have to wear that. You're so close to the television.
Good idea.
You get a facial sunburn from the light.
But I'll have the outline of the goggles.
Yeah, the outline.
So, No, so I'll do my best, Mr. Nolan, to see your picture the way you wanted me to see it.
But we both did see Barbie.
Yeah. So what do you think of that?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't like. I'm not going to say it was the best movie of the year or anything like that, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was very funny. It was not made for children. It's very clear. I do have a concern that a lot of people mistakenly may have taken their children to it. But it was not, and I'm not talking about children, I'm talking about like 9-year-olds. I'm not talking about it. But it's a more adult film, but it was, I enjoyed it. I laughed every time Ryan Gosling was on screen as Ken. It was hilarious. He was hysterical. But it was a fun, interesting, well done movie. And I did really have a good time. It
was a very interesting take on the story. Like the way they approached, how do we make a toy a movie, was very inventive. And I salute them for that, because you could have gone a million different ways, and 999.9 thousand of them would have been the wrong choice. So good on them for doing something well. I think I said this in an earlier podcast, but I do worry that the lesson Hollywood's going to learn from this is any toy movie can be a movie and can be $1 billion box office movie. No. I don't want to see the Hot Wheels movie. I don't want to see a Stretch Armstrong movie. I don't want to see GoBots. That would be only if they did it like even as like the generic Transformers, where the effects were even generic,
or even worse. It transforms into these really ugly cars that are clearly not cars.
And when they transform, it's like 4 polygons that just kind of move, and like that. I might be interested to see that. But but Barbie itself was good. It was entertaining. It looked phenomenal. I mean, the set design and the costuming, the characters and all that, tremendous. When Will Ferrell came on screen, I was a little bit nervous just because I was like, "Oh, Lord Business from
Lord
the
Business
Lego movie."
It's like, do you do it? But it was a totally different character.
Yeah, it went in a different way, which was great. And it was good to see Rhea Perlman show up in a role. And yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I would have rather seen Oppenheimer, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I also enjoyed it. And we will get to see Oppenheimer. It's eventually. It just won't be at the theater. Which
we're cursed. We'll never see the last episode of this podcast where we're both on our deathbeds. We'll be like, Oppenheimer.
Yeah, why?
And then somebody will be like, "What's Oppenheimer?"
Yeah,
and there'll be a shot of a sled that's burning and with Oppenheimer written on it.
It's like our Rosebud.
That's the reference.
I know. So the other movie that I did get to see, and you did not, and that is the new Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't seen that yet.
We talked about how strange it was that there's a new Indiana Jones movie out, and neither of us are excited.
Yeah.
And seeing it will not change your opinion too much.
Okay.
Without being too spoiler, I'm not, you have not seen it, and I have, and the listeners might not have seen it. It looks like an Indiana Jones movie, but it doesn't really feel like one. And I think I would recommend anyone see it. And I think you will have some guesses about where the movie's going, and you'll be right on some, and some of them are going to surprise you. The movie does have a few surprises. But it's just, honestly, it's not as good as Crystal Skull. And it feels less authentic than Crystal Skull. It looks beautiful. Looks like $1 trillion. Yeah. Far better than Crystal Skull looked, because so much of Crystal Skull looked like CGI, inappropriate CGI, and filmed in a soundstage. Yeah, it
did look bizarre.
And this does not have that problem. My goodness, it does. It just it feels it's wrong. It's not very good.
How much of that do you think is James Mangold?
I think he is responsible for the look being right. Mm-hmm. I think that they just had a bad script, a bad take. And I think that the reality is that, it just was an unnecessary movie. And I'm not sure how you could have made it necessary. I don't know. It's Disney has these properties, and it feels like they have to do something with them, right? And that's kind of the downside of these properties that you love being sent over to a new company. Mm-hmm. They're going to do something with it. It's not just going to die. It's not like Disney to say, "Okay, I paid $4 billion for Lucasfilm. We're not going to do anything with this." It's going to be used, and a lot, and some of it for good, and some of it won't turn out so great. And I think this is one where I think it should have been maybe continued in other mediums, maybe in cartoons, video games, right? Found another way to continue it. I just am not sure a fifth Indiana Jones movie was the right thing to do.
So I think a lot of the reason it exists is Ford's obsession with finding a good stuck ending for this series. I think he really identifies with Indiana Jones as his legacy more than any role, certainly more than Han Solo. And so I kind of get the feeling that part of the reason it exists is because Ford was like, we gotta do better than Crystal Skull. We gotta do better than Crystal Skull. Again, no spoilers for me or for any listeners. Did it stick a landing at least? Is this a better send off than Indy and Marion getting married at the end of Crystal Skull?
I don't think so. No, I think that certainly Indiana Jones, the Crystal Skull was a flawed movie.
Absolutely.
But I think that it felt like an Indiana Jones movie, and this one does not. It's so hard to describe why without giving things away. Mm-hmm. But I would not call it a stuck landing. I would say that you could think back on all the Indiana Jones films, and you'll be able to think of really memorable things, even from Crystal Skull. The motorcycle chase through the library was great in Crystal Skull. There is nothing like that will stick in your head like that. Not even close.
Well, it's nigh impossible to do a better ending than riding off into the sunset in Last Crusade.
It should have been the last one.
It should have been. But since they screwed that one up, I can understand Ford saying, we got to right the ship. And it's just heartbreaking that it didn't happen for him, because there's not going to be a sixth Indiana Jones. I'm going to say that now, and I'm going to put myself out there.
Pretty sure there won't be.
So Disney will probably wait for Ford to die, and then they'll recast somebody in the role and do a reboot. Is that what we think is going to happen?
Maybe. I think yes. I mean, the question is how long do they wait? I don't know, right? Do you remember for a while they were talking right after Disney bought Lucas? They were talking about Chris Pratt.
Yes, they were,
and I don't think that would have been a good idea. But I question, okay, would that have been starting over fresh have been better than this? And I really don't know the answer. I mean, probably not. But yeah, I don't know. I think that you're probably right. That's what's going to happen. But we'll see. I can't say a whole lot more without
No, I understand.
Really giving it away. You should watch it.
As soon as it hits Disney Plus and I have a free evening, I will watch it.
Is it not hit Disney Plus yet?
Okay. Not yet. I thought for sure it would, but they did announce a Blu-ray release day. So maybe I'll pick that up if it doesn't hit streaming day and date. Mostly my reason for not seeing it and my reason for not seeing Oppenheimer, it's just time. And I think all of our listeners out there can understand that, between family and job and, feeding yourself and sleeping. It's the opportunity to just rush out and see anything you want. But that's the reason I'm not an Alamo subscriber, because if I had all the free time in the world, you bet I'd be on that thing.
But anyway. You're right. I mean, those subscription things, there was a time in our life where that would have been really cool.
Oh man.
And we did that. I remember, we did it. We tried it for a little while with AMC, but it just was, we weren't getting our money's worth before the pandemic. But now it's just no time. But a decade ago.
Oh, yeah. And that would have been outstanding. And even when we were teenagers, I mean,
oh goodness,
during the summer, we'd probably see 3 movies a week.
Yeah.
But anyway,
they would have put up special showings of Bloodsport for us. You guys are always here. What do you want to see?
Oh, Bloodsport.
Yeah.
Again?
All right. I feel like that has recapped all the stuff we really wanted to talk about and to get back into it. We haven't done, and I certainly haven't talked this much in a while. So I think this was a good way to, folks, this is where we are. Get you updated, see where's the podcast been, and then get you prepared for more crazy, awesome topics in the future as we settle back into things and we get back into the regular T-Mag mode very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And until then, hit up those emails and those socials.
Absolutely.
What's the URL, Dave?
It is www.2 middle-aged, not just age, middle-aged with a D, guys.com. 2middleageguys.com. You can also check us out on Facebook. The 2 Middle-Aged Guys is our Facebook profile name, whatever. And on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, we're also on there. If you go to our webpage, you'll get links to all those things. I wrote some stuff. You guys go on there. I wrote some crazy, stupid essays. Ever wondered the proper way to watch Buckaroo Banzai? I know I did. So I found it, and I wrote about it, so you can go check it out. And
the next day after you posted that essay, on my YouTube feed was a video of Peter Weller talking about Buckaroo Banzai. Spooky. It's listening to your thoughts. That's okay. I don't have many. So Thanks for listening, everybody. Dave, it's good to be back in the studio with you. Glad you're feeling better. Hope that the recovery continues to go through, and that your voice settles on just the perfect timbre of what you're looking for.
Singing bass for the Oak Ridge Boys. That's my goal.
That's your goal. Okay.
Papa Mau Mau.
Well, I mean, the Stones have lost some members. Maybe you could jump in there.
They would. The thing is, Jagger's going to outlive me. No doubt about it. He's healthier.
Yeah, he's going to outlive all of us. Keith is too. So, with that joyful idea, have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.